Judaism has rabbis and groups. There's certain groups that believe and go out of their way to try to convince other Jews to join their movement, that God will be pleased with them if they study Hasidut, if they follow a certain rabbi. See, the thing is, we have to get in the habit of saying that someone could be horribly wrong, but not idolatrous. Why does that word idolatry comes in? We have to be very careful when we call someone an idolater. Idolaters, according to the Torah, have to be put to death. So you're telling me that God would put someone to death who, I'm not saying Christians, I mean someone who kept the Torah fully, but happens to also take the New Testament as holy as a Kabbalist takes the Zohar? I don't see that. Idolatry is a heavy term. Let's just say they're wrong. No, but we have to use the worst, that we have to equate them to worshiping foreign gods, like worshiping actual idols. You know, I mean, people were sacrificed to other gods. I mean, how is someone who claims to be the Jewish Messiah, who was an ethical person, you know, for all intents and purposes, how can we equate that to barbaric, unethical idolatry? I think that God's going to hold it against us and say, you know what? You're being dishonest, because Jews have very similar ideas. Like when Chabad says that a Rebbe is the divine essence in bodily form, and they could get away with that, but when Colossians says it about Jesus, they can. Now, I think they're both wrong. Right. And I don't think there's anyone out there who has spoken out against Chabad and Christianity. I mean, I've debated more Messianics and Christians than anyone alive.
It seems like the more and more we're diving into this, it seems like it is avodah zorah. I mean, because where does this concept come in Judaism? This idea that some meshugana, out of his mind guy gonna plan a suicide mission to die on a cross to fulfill a mission that he thinks he comes from heaven, and it means it's silly. I mean, it's silly. So why would we accept this as our faith?
I'm not trying to convince people to be Christian. That's the thing. We can't get stuck on first stage thinking here. I'm not convincing anyone to be Christian. I'm just saying, if you're going to say where they get their ideas from, where do Kabbalists get their ideas from? Where do they get the idea that God contracts himself in order for creation to start? Where do they get the idea that every Jew is a physical piece of God and Gentiles are intrinsically evil from birth? Where do they get this? Now, I'm not going to call Kabbalist idolaters, but at the same time, I'm not going to call Messianic idolaters either, because their ideas are just as wacky.
There's a kosher way of believing in Atzmut and Aguf, and
why is it kosher?
A goyish.
Why? Because it's accepted?
Because it's developed by Jews who practice Judaism.
Christianity was also developed initially by Jews. Only because something's accepted, it doesn't make it right. That's the thing. But this is what I war against constantly online. Only because something is accepted, only because someone with a long beard says it, doesn't make it any more true than if a Messianic Jew said it. Why would it? I mean, honestly, look at Shabtai Tzvi. What?
Wait a minute, though. This is really cool, because my beard is getting fairly long, and so that means y'all got to listen to what I got to say, right?
I mean, these tzaddikim were Torah observant Jews who spend every moment of their entire life studying Torah.
You don't know that. Those are the stories that they make up after they die.
That was the claim, though, wasn't it? Wasn't that the claim, though, that they did?
That what?
That they spent the bulk of their lives studying.
Come on. I mean, this is what people say about people after they die. About you and I, they don't tell such stories, and we really shouldn't over-embellish these people. That's really a form of veneration. I mean, if that's wrong, if it's wrong to venerate a saint in the Catholic Church because of their benevolence, because they tried so hard to take care of the needy, why is it okay to over-embellish and venerate a rabbi because he studied Torah day and night? It's still a form of veneration. I'm not attacking Kabbalistic Judaism. I'm saying that we have to use equal scales here. We have to judge Christianity or Messianic Judaism with the same scales that we're using to judge Kabbalistic Judaism, which is why I don't consider Kabbalist idolaters and I don't consider Messianics idolaters. Okay, we have to be honest, but it seems that there's this hatred for Christianity and Messianic Judaism instilled by Tovia Singer, and this is why they don't debate. If you're really going to be out there attacking Christianity, then debate Messianics. I mean, stop debating Presbyterians, people who can't really debate.
I mean, to be fair, I mean, for the past 2,000 years, Christians have done nothing but inquisitions, pogroms, Holocausts,
out of
crusades. Okay, but
Yeah, we're not talking about Christians. We're talking about
I'm gonna tell you this.
Jewish-
I agree with him that they kind of earned their place. They did kill a couple Jews here and there.
Well, Islam as well, but we're not talking about Christians here.
Because they're prescribed of worship of their religion. They're a Avodah Zorah.
No, yeah, we're not talking about Christianity. I'm talking about Messianic Judaism. Clearly, anyone who believes that the
okay, you're talking
the point
about.
I'm making is JC. It's all under JC. You say Messianic, you say Christian, but JC is the main guy, and the whole idea of the Jews killing JC. There you go. If the Christians and the Messianics would give up that idea that the Jews are going to change their mind and come to Jesus, Christianity and the Messianics would be totally different. They would almost be like Islam, a lot of them.
Christianity is idolatry, by the simple fact that they believe the Torah is done away with. So their God is not the God of the Torah. I'm speaking about a Messianic Jew. I don't see the problem.
So you're talking about 5 people on the internet.
I'm talking about Hebrew rooters. I'm talking about Messianic people. No, I'm talking about the
black
Messianic
people,
movement.
Hebrew Israelites, Hebrew rooters, Messianic.
There are actually
Jews.
more Messianic Jews than there are Hasidic Jews. So it's not a small movement.
You really think so?
For
You really think
sure.
so?
I mean, Christians. Come on, how many observant Jews are there in the world? Is it 10%? And from those observant Jews, how many are Hasidic? Maybe 2%? They seem a lot because they live in a certain neighborhood. But basically, every city in the U.S. has some sort of Messianic synagogue. That we just have to use equal measures. I don't see the difference, and I don't see the New Testament as any more idolatrous as Kabbalistic works. I see it as wrong. That's the thing. You guys have to learn. Only because I'm not labeling something idolatrous doesn't mean that I'm endorsing it. This is this primitive way of thinking that Tovia Singer and Mizrahi has instilled on new people coming to Judaism, that if it's wrong, it's idolatrous and it's heretical. No, something could be wrong and not idolatrous and heretical.
Fair enough.
Can I ask a question over here?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I have to admit that it almost seems like a dirty, whoa, how did I do this sort of issue? Because the more I study Judaism, the more I meet Jewish people, the more I talk to y'all, the more I hear about how my path has almost been very cliche, because coming out of Christianity, it was Rabbi Michael Skoback who really started revealing the mistranslations. And then I got into Tovia and Rabbi Yaron Reuven and all these guys, and a lot of them successfully scared the crap out of me. First of all, scared me into doing good. And I think that was helpful in some ways. But I'm at a point where I'm trying to follow the Torah the best I can outside of an Orthodox community. And the question I have is it any of the Reform or the Conservative or Chabad, anybody that's around me, to tell me it is impossible to be an Orthodox Jew outside of their little movements? And I mean, is it possible to become a Jew and follow Hashem outside of any major Jewish movements? Or are they true to say that I need to join the Chabad or I need to join a certain clique to become a Jew in the eyes of Hashem? What does the Torah speak about this is really what my question is.
Well, the Torah and the rabbis, and when I say the rabbis, I mean those with authority, those in the Mishnah, did not limit conversion to a geographic location. Also never said that one even has to go to the synagogue, because they're like, oh, well, you have to live walking distance to a synagogue. Nonsense. I mean, it's a great thing to pray with other Jews, but it's not an obligation. According to halakha, for sure, you don't have to live in a Jewish community. It definitely benefits you. Right? I mean, there's no point of really being a Jew up on a mountain all alone. The goal is to unite with like-minded people to make this little world a little better than you found it. That's it. But yes, nowadays they will not convert you unless you live walking distance to a synagogue. Now, these rabbis, to say that unless you follow me, you're wrong, I mean, that's pretty much what they're saying, is the same game that other people play in other religions. And we really have to break free from that. I encourage self-study, know the law, and know the difference. clearly, any synagogue you join, it's rare that you're going to agree with the rabbi 100%. And if you do, then you're a sheep. There are going to be disagreements. Now, if the rabbi is going to block you on Facebook just because you happen to think a little differently, then maybe you should find yourself a different rabbi. I give people the source material, and that's it. And I tell them that I don't care what they believe outside of that, as long as you know what the source material teaches. I don't think there are too many rabbis online who do that.
You've blown my mind so many times already tonight. You've said so many things that I've never heard other rabbis say, stuff that makes more sense than anything. A lot about the Messianic era. One thing that you said is anytime you're living in Israel, or however you said, like I do desire to live with Jews. I want to live in Israel. I want my family to be Jewish. I want to be a part of the Jewish people, but I've got 4 Messianic synagogues, I think, surrounding me, because I do want to get closer. I don't want to be by myself, but driving to a Reform synagogue to just for the sake of getting a conversion seems like just backwards to me. The more I do it, the more I just want to move closer to the Chabad house, and that doesn't necessarily feel right. I feel like I could just continue to grow, at least as a Jew. But they all tell me that you really can't do that, and I don't necessarily know why, but I understand where they're coming from.
Well, they don't know. To say that it's better not to keep any law unless you can keep them all is quite idiotic. Becoming a better person and making the world a better place is done with increments, little by little.
Do you believe it's possible to keep all 613 of them?
Well, God never expected you to keep them all. He wants you to do your best. It's about individual moral training.
Right.
He's telling you to strive to make Israel the light that it was meant to be, right? Only when you bring in heaven and hell does one ask the question, how does one keep the law perfectly? Why? Because I don't give a crap about this world. All I care about is heaven. That's the only reason why someone would ask this. This is why the Torah doesn't mention heaven. It's about living a full life.
Right.
This is why these rabbis online, what they do and they teach is OCD Judaism. For real, like obsessive compulsiveness. I mean, there is no way, because they're so stuck with the afterlife. Life is not about accruing credits to earn heaven. No, it's about making this world and your family better and your surroundings better.
I agree totally.